Hello, everybody. I'm Rebecca Payo, and I'm the Director of Mentoring and Community Engagement with the Colorado Office of Attorney Professional Excellence, or APEX. And today, our presenter will be discussing the lawyer who knows the law but not themselves. This is available for one general CLE credit. That I will put the course ID in the chat towards the end, and just a few housekeeping items. We will be in webinar mode, so we can't see or hear you. And if you have any tech issues, usually we find that if you log out and log back in, that will help. Other than that, we won't be able to assist you with that. If you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the Q&A or the chat, and a recording will be available for replay at our social media channels later this day. Our presenter today is Daniel Ward. He is an entrepreneur, performance and executive coach, keynote and inspirational speaker, and I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate it. Give me just 1 second and I will share my slides here and we'll get going. Very good. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I wanted to also thank Rebecca for inviting me to speak with everyone today. And also wanted to thank Ryan as well. I know she's out of the office today, but I've worked with Ryan in the past and wanted to thank her for setting this up. And I'm excited to be here today and talk with you all a little bit about the lawyer who knows himself or who knows the law, but not themselves. And so we're going to dive right into it. I'll give just a touch of background on me, and then we'll go right into it. As we go through today, I will likely ask you to put some comments in the chat on a few different things. And so I would greatly appreciate that. I know we won't have as much interaction today as that I typically enjoy and like, but I would appreciate any responses that you can put in the chat as we go. And then we will have some time for a Q&A at the end as well. Okay. Here we go. So my name is Daniel Ward. I'm the founder and owner of Inward Fitness. We provide personal training, corporate wellness, and sports performance services. We have a facility in Denver. Company was started in 2005, so we just celebrated our 20-year anniversary last September, which is fantastic. I'm also the founder owner of DSW Coaching, where I provide executive coaching, execution specialty, and also serve as an inspirational speaker and workshop facilitator. And I work with high risk, high reward, high performing individuals, teams, and organizations to help them develop capacity, execute, and enhance performance, well being, and relationships, which is something that we will definitely be focusing on today. So it's been assumed that lawyers in general have kind of sometimes a pessimistic outlook solely based on their career path chosen. And I know many lawyers and have had a lot of lawyers and attorneys as clients over the years, and I don't see this. However, there may be similar characteristics such as, a high achievement mentality, maybe sometimes a little bit of restlessness or being hyper rational for some things. And I only say that because I also carry some of those characteristics as well and can relate. And at times, I think those things serve you well, serve me well, serve others well. And sometimes they don't. And sometimes those things help us get to that first peak, that first summit, to that mountaintop. And then we have to figure out what are going to be the things and the traits and characteristics that are going to take us to the next summit. So sometimes those things that serve us to help us achieve initially don't continue to help us as we go. And so what are those sabotaging characteristics? And we'll dive a little bit into that today. But why am I here? I'm here because there are cracks in the foundation of being a lawyer and in many law firms, in fact, around the country. And those cracks are enormous pressure, potential burnout, cracks of anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and suicide. And there are real costs of these cracks and of neglecting yourself. And so I want to dive into just a little bit of the stats and some things that I came across and um, other attorneys and lawyers that I spoke with. So let's dive into some of the numbers here. 55% of lawyers report anxiety. 72% report no time for mental health. And this one's a big one. Lawyers are 2 times more likely than other professionals to experience anxiety disorders. And 65+% cite billable hour pressure as the primary stress driver. And so one of my questions when I looked at this is, do billable hours, we'll take that last one, equal productivity? Because some say this is the single biggest reason most lawyers are stressed and depressed. And I feel that this aspect of billable hours is never ending. It can never really end. Next here, 38% of attorneys report depression, 37 report constant sadness, and 35% feel emotionally drained. This is a big gap here. 48 to 60% of lawyers experience burnout. 25% experience repeated chronic burnout cycles that come and go. And 30% say burnout causes work mistakes. And so one question I had for looking at these as well is this burnout, and I know this can vary widely, is this a symptom of overwork or of underperforming processes and systems within a firm or practice? And I think those are two very different things, but also should be looked at very carefully. 21 to 24% of lawyers report problematic alcohol use. About 19% link burnout to drug and alcohol misuse. And 44% of lawyers say they know colleagues struggling with alcoholism. One lawyer I know in particular, I actually just saw him yesterday. He speaks very candidly about his burnout, um, that when it came and went in cycles, and has turned to alcohol to help cope, and without really realizing it at the time when it was happening, and these cycles of burnout up and down, and really just came to him maybe a few years ago, 3 years ago. He's been an attorney for about 30 years. And so I think it's also worth mentioning that some of these things aren't known right away, and they may not be presented as something that might be an issue until much later. But I think again, understanding for what it is, especially within the profession and the field, and understanding that there is a potential for this to happen and to be aware of it, to develop that self-awareness, I think is key. And the last one here, suicidal ideation. 19 to 29% of lawyers report suicidal thoughts. This one got me. Suicide risk is 1.5 to 2.5 times higher than the general population. I've done some work with folks in the construction industry as well, and the suicide and substance abuse rate is extremely high there. But this one really got me. I didn't think it would be that high. And the last one too, 15% know a colleague who died by suicide in recent years. And so I just want to lay the groundwork that these cracks in the foundation are very real and have very real effects, not just on the individuals, but other people around them or around you in your firm, in your practice, individually. And those relationships spread far and wide. And so I really want to set the stage here, to open up some vulnerability and to dialogue, not necessarily back and forth, but to just kind of open up the mind and perceptions about some of these things that are happening. So I wanted to mention one thing from an article I'd like to actually pull up just real quick. Give me just 1 second here. In 2018, I just want to talk about this real quick. The ABA, House of Delegates, published Resolution 105, which in part supported the reduction of mental health and substance use disorders and the improvement of well-being within the legal profession. And in my world of performance and fitness and mental fitness, physical fitness and mental fitness, and overall health span, longevity, well-being, and enhanced performance for people, uh, you know, this really stood out to me because it says lawyer well-being is simply not a perk; it's an integral component of professional competence and client protection. And I can echo that from the work that I do with clients all over. It is vitally important to ensure that your well-being is being taken care of. And I believe physical fitness and mental fitness are going to be two foundational elements of that. And so today we're going to build strength with this and drive clarity and grow capacity. And the strength will be for you and your environment. Clarity inside the uncertainty and sometimes the chaos of the work that you do and the demands of it, and also the capacity to sustain the work that you do and provide. I don't feel that your world, your industry is going to get simpler, but you can dampen these stats. I do believe that. And how do you fill in these cracks and lead through them? And I believe it's to know yourself better and deeply and more fully. And so the question is, how well do you know yourself? And are you willing to accept the truths of where you are and where your industry is, where your practice is, and then take a deep breath and say, okay, this is where I am. What can I do? What am I in control of? And these changes I'm willing to make are important to me. So today I'm going to introduce to you my three C's and not, again, just simply talk at you, but also ask you some poignant questions as we go. Okay, we are ready. So these three C's for me are not a hack, it's a philosophy of life. And I believe these are values that you can adopt and live by to shape and elevate your life, to provide you focus, to be creative. And some of this might be a little outside of your comfort zone as we dive into it today. And some of it may be a more along the lines of a feel and a feeling versus just a thinking. So, with today, I'm happy that you're here. I don't want you to wait for the right time or for things to slow down or for the chaos to calm. And I know you're here for a reason today. And so let's take advantage. Okay. So we are ready and we are jumping right in today. So what we're going to do here first, I'd like you to participate in this with me. We're going to do just a little bit of box breathing. And if you haven't heard of that before, I'm going to walk you through it. It's very simple. I'm going to ask you to take an inhale. You're going to do that for 4 seconds, and then you're going to hold that inhale for 4 seconds. You're going to exhale for 4 seconds, and then hold the exhale for 4. Okay. So let's just walk through this. If you want to close your eyes, you can get comfortable in your seat. And we're going to start with the first inhale here. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, and go ahead and inhale. Hold. Exhale. And hold. Inhale again. Hold. Exhale. And hold. One more time. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold. And relax there. Good. Box breathing. Why do we do it? It counters the fight or flight response. Believe it or not, it also helps regulate the autonomic nervous system by stimulating the vagus nerve, which actually slows the heart rate and decreases blood pressure. It's also been shown to enhance attention, mental clarity, and cognitive performance, right? So, right off the bat, we're trying to build the muscle of emotional regulation and helping you respond to these situations and things we're going to talk about with good composure and take everything in. So, trick of the trade for you to take and use yourself. Box breathing is a fantastic thing to incorporate into your day. Okay. So we're going to first talk about physical capacity. Right. I believe in the work that I've done for over 20 years. I believe this is the base of the pyramid. And there were several articles that I went through and skimmed and read through pretty in depth as preparing for when I was preparing for this webinar today. And funny enough, not one article spoke about the importance of physical fitness or capacity as a go-to solution for attorneys. I am from a school of thought and belief that you cannot necessarily be your best or be at your best if your foundational level of being physically challenged and building your physical capacity is not met. I think this is the single biggest and best thing you can do for yourself to elevate your state of mind, your state of work, your state of success, and your state of being. Again, for over 20 years, I've worked with clients, a wide variety of high performing, high demanding, high risk professions, many of them lawyers, and have consistently felt not just better from this aspect, but have been thriving and motivated and excited. And this has happened through the best and the worst of times. So this, I believe, provides you momentum so that you become the momentum in your practice and in your life. The energy flow, the challenge that you can internally impose on yourself or that's externally demanded by a trainer or instructor is exponential in its return. Physical fitness and the capacity that it builds provides emotional regulation. And that's the next piece of the pyramid right above that, along with mental capacity and spiritual capacity. It helps with grit, helps alleviate stress and rumination, makes you stronger, makes you feel more capable, and it provides you a mental fitness capacity, which is another big building block to mental health. I firmly believe that mental fitness is a building block to mental health, just as physical fitness is a building block to physical health. I think this provides something that you cannot really get or receive another way, and it builds momentum within you. So your leverage here is personal development, not perfect conditions. As we apply this to exercise, again, training your body is daily evidence that you're able to do challenging, hard, difficult things, even on purpose. And you may be active currently, but could maybe do a little bit more, or you may be totally sedentary, you're just getting ready to start or want to start taking that first step. But please know that physical discipline spills into emotional restraint, clear thinking under pressure, consistency when motivation fades. And so, commanding yourself physically, you will much more struggle less with commanding other things in your life, in your professional life, and your personal life. And so, of course, this is about fitness and performance and maybe even appearance for some, but this has more to do with training your body and your mind to prepare for the onslaught of what's coming at you professionally every day. Okay. Again, we revert back to the stats that I shared at the beginning of this webinar. How do you develop ways and standards and boundaries around dealing with these types of things, right? This is really about your state of mind and your state of being. It's about the standards that are non-negotiable, especially in a profession and when your personal and professional development are critical for you to perform at your best while maintaining a balance in life and managing emotional responses and stress in the best way possible. Keeping your body and your mind healthy and well, and even cultivating relationships. And so it may seem counterintuitive to purposely stress your body voluntarily so that stress doesn't voluntarily stress you out. But this is the point. And I believe when you challenge yourself, you change and enhance and you optimize your body, you change your life, you change your mind, you change how you feel and how you think. So, what does this exercise that challenges you do to your nervous system? Let's talk more specifically about this. So, it actually boosts something called BDNF. It's brain derived neurotrophic factor. And this is a protein that's essential for neuron survival and synaptic connections within your brain. It increases neurotransmitters like serotonin, norepinephrine, which also improve mood and cognitive function. Right? BDNF also helps maintain autonomic balance as well as difficult, challenging exercise or a consistent exercise routine. It helps maintain your autonomic balance. And what is this? This is your non thinking actions, uh, breathing, your heart rate. And enhances the body's ability to manage stress responses effectively, including reducing anxiety. Now, there's been studies that suggest that consistent challenging exercise lead to long-term improvements, even in brain structure, particularly gray matter volume specifically. And gray matter processes information, controls movements, manages memory, and controls emotions. And so when I'm challenging myself or clients, or when you're challenging yourself physically, there's a different qualitative measurement and metric also happening as far as this feeling and outcome is concerned directly because of BDNF autonomic balance and enhancing gray matter. And it's been proven time and time again in clinical studies. So to start out, I think this is how you practice discomfort before discomfort finds you. When you train your body hard, dealing with uncertainty and imbalance and emotional load, it gives you a stress response release, and that feels good. It also helps teach you how to stay calm when breathing is difficult, continuing through difficult exercise when quitting is a potential option, and then also enhancing recovery without collapsing. So, what we're going to do really quick, I'm going to show you just one quick thing. Um, we're going to do this. And if you want to stand up and do this with me, I would love for you to participate. It's going to be just 30 seconds. It's really easy. But we're going to do just a core activation with your body. So all we're going to do for 30 seconds is you're going to bring one knee up. You're going to press your opposite hand into it. And you're going to press really, really firm. Try not to let that leg move. I want you to hold it for a couple counts and step down and alternate. Okay. So for 30 seconds, go ahead and stand up with me. If you're alone, not alone, doesn't matter. But let's go ahead and give this a shot. Okay. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1, and go. So you're going to press on the inside of that leg for a couple counts, release it, and come down. So I want you to push as hard as you can into the thigh. You're going to feel your inner thigh activate. You're going to feel your core engage, and your arms should be nice and tight as well. Again, we're just going to do this for 30 seconds. You got it. We only got about 10 more seconds left. Going to push as hard as you can. There we go. Good, good, good. Another activation here. And go ahead and rest. Excellent. I hope you did that with me so I wasn't alone. Thank you for those that participated. But I want to take that this theory of difficult exercise when we just did something for 30 seconds. But I'm not sure if you feel any difference or just getting your body up to do something active, but even just that touch of activation changes things in your mind. Okay. So the challenge I want to relay with this is not just the exercise or choosing to do that. And I want to relate that to the challenge not just being the system of being a lawyer, right? And everything that's going on in the cracks in the foundation, the statistics I mentioned earlier. The challenge is not the system. The challenge is who you are required to become to operate well inside of it. How does this help you? Through physical challenges, you will develop emotional discipline when outcomes are uncertain. You'll be able to make clear decisions under ambiguity and maintain standards when the environment you're in professionally rewards reactivity. Okay. So again, I want you to think about this aspect of the challenge not necessarily being the system, but the challenge of who you are required to become to operate well inside of it. Okay. We're going to shift gears just a little bit. We're going to go into my second C, okay, which is curiosity. We're going to work on restoring control by reframing meanings and assumptions. So I believe curiosity is likely the most undervalued trait. And it's because I believe curiosity gives you agency, gives you confidence. It also provides empathy towards yourself. It allows you to explore professionally, personally, allows you to innovate, right? Think outside the box. It allows you to be a creator, not just a manager. And I'm going to talk about this in some different ways. So, for example, could you replace these thoughts or feelings? If I step back, I won't hit my billable hours. Under stress, I should be able to handle this. I don't know how else to cope out of habit. The workload is just not manageable. I feel like I'm stuck in a machine that doesn't ultimately care. Now, I'm going to ask if there are any other thoughts or feelings that you could put in the chat. Feel free to put those in right there if any of these resonated, or if there's something else that is you kind of sticking with you that might be related to that. Please feel free to take a second and put it in the chat. And if there are some statements that are in the chat, I would love to hear a couple of those as well. And if not, that's okay too. Okay. But taking these thoughts or these feelings, okay. And now can we shift to some different questions based on curiosity? So for example, what is mine? What is actually mine to carry? How do my values differ from the firm's values or other people's values? How can I enhance my sense of agency or autonomy or delegation? How can I shift my social gatherings to not discuss anything related to work and without alcohol? Why am I not taking care of myself? How do I disconnect what I do to who I am? And the last one I'll say is, what would ethical advocacy look like if I didn't absorb the system emotionally?
Daniel, we've got one comment in the chat that says, what we do is often criticized by clients and not appreciated. Rarely do we get a thank you or you are appreciated.
Mm, mm. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for Rebecca for jumping in. That's very valid. That's absolutely valid to feel that sense of underappreciation or that sense of being undervalued for the work that you do, and feeling that back and more of an expectation versus a thank you. And so I think that's very real. I appreciate you sharing that, and would also ask, what kind of curious question can you put around that, around the expectation of being appreciated, which is a complex answer. Okay? And we'll have some time for Q&A at the end as well. Thank you for sharing that. So those are some of the curious questions. And so what I want to start thinking about here is your state, right? Your mind state before strategy. And this aspect of, can you make good legal, ethical, even personal decisions from a dysregulated state? Are you operating from a dysregulated state with the thoughts or emotions or feelings that you have? And how do we tie that professionally? How does that tie in directly to performance in court, to client communication, to judgment under pressure? How does that tie into your professional longevity and sustainability of what you do? and it's tough and it's complex. And this gets into more of the feeling aspect and sometimes out of the thinking. And so what I want to do here is real quick, this will just take a couple minutes. I want to practice a mental fitness exercise that stimulates curiosity. So I want this to allow you to move away from being reactive towards anything and being creative, calm, and relaxed. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get my watch ready. We're going to go for about 2 minutes. And I'm going to ask you to get comfortable in your seat or wherever you are, feet flat on the floor and relax. I would love for you to close your eyes. I can't see you, so I can't make you do that. But I would love for you to close your eyes as we go through this. Now, when I tell you to rub your index fingers and thumbs together, I want you to do this. Okay. But slowly, not real fast. You can use your index and middle finger with your thumb. That's fine. But I want you to do it slowly. Yeah, you don't have to hold your hands up. I just want you to be able to see that. You can keep your hands in your lap. Right. And the other one we're going to do is you're going to put your fingertips together and then you're going to slide your hand down into your palm or fingers into your palm. And you're going to alternate sides. Again, don't go too fast. Just want to do it slowly. Okay. I will prompt you to do those things. You don't necessarily have to open your eyes as we get ready for that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have you close your eyes here and the hypnosis will begin in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and close your eyes. I'd like you to take 3 deep breaths in through your nose and out through your nose. Focus on the temperature of air as it enters your nostrils and exits your nostrils. Once you've finished your 3 deep breaths, return to your normal breathing. I'd like you to place your right hand on your stomach and just notice the rising and falling of your stomach with each breath you take. Shifting a little, I'd like you to rub your index finger and thumbs together, focusing on the physical sensation, the ridges, the soft spots, any rough spots, and direct all your attention to the feeling of that physical sensation. Shifting a little, I'd like you to put your fingertips together. Slide your fingertips down and into the palm of one hand slowly, and do the same thing on the other hand. Again, I want you to notice the texture, the ridges, the rough spots, soft spots. Please continue. And relax there. You can place your hands in your lap. I'd like you to take 3 deep breaths again in through your nostrils and out your nostrils, noticing the temperature of air as you do so. And when you finish your last deep breath, you can open your eyes. Thank you for participating in that if you did. I want you to notice your state of energy. If you feel more calm, if you feel more relaxed, what do you feel? And you can put this in the chat. We don't necessarily have to dialogue about it. I'd just like you to put that in the chat. And then if you have something to type on or write with, I'd like you to answer these questions. Or this statement: the part of my work draining me the most right now is.
Daniel, we've got a question.
Mhm.
What does it mean to be dysregulated? I suffer depression, but is this dysregulation? What bombs are dropping when bombs are dropping on civilians? Seems like it would be dysregulation to be to not be depressed.
Mm. There's so much going on in the world right now. It's hard sometimes not to feel that depression, that anxiety with things that are happening. And thank you for sharing that. It's difficult to be in a regulated state when there's so many other things that can affect where you are, how you feel, what you believe, what you take as truth, what is sometimes accepted as okay. And the one thing I think with this aspect of being in a dysregulated state is what can we do to the best of our ability, individually and with help of professionals and even peers, what can we do to shift our state back to where we feel more regulated? And it takes a village, usually, of things to happen and to come into place. And so, my intent with this, and especially this last thing that we just did, is in a 2 minute time frame. That was about 2 minutes. Does it provide a sense of relief and calm? And I hope it does. And it may not, but I really hope it does. And if it does, is that a practice that you can take into your life on a regular basis and not make it very complex and utilize that when you need it, but even when you don't need it? And can you take 2 minutes or 5 minutes and sit and just be and try to come to a calmer state, quieter state, even where we quiet the noise just a little bit, and even if it's temporarily. And I have found with a lot of my clients that it does help. It does help prior to meetings they go into. It does help prior to venturing in the world and taking on all of the heavy things. It depends on, I just gave a talk to the Immigration Lawyers Association and what they have to deal with every single day of it being constantly in their face. And then people asking them personally about it all the time too in social media. And so can you give yourself some space? Is there an opportunity to provide yourself some space to regulate a little bit, even just for a period of time? And so I do hope that this practice of what we just did, I call it a mental fitness repetition, basically, working to build or cross from that dysregulation to more of a regulated state of mind and state of being. Again, not a quick fix. It takes practice, it takes time, and sometimes takes works with other professionals as well. So again, I hope this is a potential tool that you can use, and share with others too if it does help you. And thank you. If you are able to answer these, um, I think hopefully it can provide a little bit of insight to things that may be draining you right now and what may actually be in your control, and how we can work to begin to work with this from a self-awareness standpoint. Again, there's a lot of work that goes into this, but the self-awareness piece and this curiosity piece is really the beginning of it.
Daniel, we have a response to question one, continuous time crunches, and two, time with an aware, empathetic community in parentheses, and that can help with work and can somewhat help with dysregulation over the state of the world.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. And and thank you for sharing that too. And thank you, Rebecca, for chiming in. And I do believe and would love to see this kind of discussion not just be part of a webinar, but almost a forum so that there's others that are dealing with this as well and can offer suggestions and offer advice and offer say, hey, here's something I tried and it really helped, right? And so thank you so much for sharing that too. I really appreciate that greatly. And I know this is difficult because I can't see you and see some of the things that you're saying. So again, thank you for using the chat and for chiming in. So if I continue on this second C of curiosity, right, I believe curiosity returns agency. Agency restores, helps restore emotional control. And emotional control results in clarity and a more clear mental state. And so maybe that is also part of the answer on this dysregulation to regulation. And it can go up and down. But I think this curiosity piece, restoring agency and restoring emotional control and clarity and a more clear mental state, is all directly connected. Curiosity shifts reaction to creation. And my ask for you is I would love for you to work harder on yourself than on your cases or your clients. And I have no doubt that most, if not all of you, are relentlessly busy. So the question is, how much time have you spent being reflective? And I know we're all crunched for time, but I don't want anybody to confuse being busy with progress or activity with effectiveness or responsiveness with leadership. And so setting aside this time is vitally important, not just from a performance aspect professionally, but capacity personally, well-being overall, mental health, right? Physical health, relationships. It's all tied in together here. And so I want you to use curiosity as a personal trait. And so here's a few questions for you just to reflect on for growth and creativity. And you can write these down if you like. How do you show up under pressure? Where are you potentially leaking energy? What beliefs, this is a big one, what beliefs are keeping you stuck in survival mode? And so building intentional thinking time and addressing how you feel and how you want to feel, okay? Shifting from the to-do list, right? What do I need to do? We all have this to-do list every day. But in shifting this to your to-be list, who do I need to become? What's on your to-be list? Who do you want to be? And I know that insight alone doesn't provide sustainability, and that requires something much deeper, which is my next C, the last C, which is connection. Okay. So, and we can utilize the chat for this. What does connection mean to you? And you can put this in the chat. And as they come in, you can feel free to stop me. But what does connection mean to you? I think the connections you have as a lawyer can influence positively and negatively on many factors, right? To yourself, connections to a mentor, colleagues, connections to policies, rules, connections to someone you're publicly close with would be different than someone you're privately close with. Even connections to social media, to news. And I think connections, we think of, just kind of a relationship connection, but I want to take it a step further. I believe that when we connect in a positive or negative manner, standards transfer, whether it's between you and a person, you and the firm, news or social media and you. I think those standards transfer. And your individual standards and someone else's are the standards of a group or media. So I want to look at connection isn't just connection, not just being about support, but who or what also reinforces your standards, especially when stress and pressure mount. And with your permission, obviously, who does this for you? Who helps connect with you to reinforce your standards, the standards of well-being and health, relationships. And so I'm going to go over three types of connection here. And I'm going to call this first one connection to reality, truth. Maybe it's from a connection from a client's point of view to you, right? This this aspect of being underappreciated. It's just about, billable hours to a client, and what is the purpose here? Connection, potentially naming the systemic dysfunction honestly. Things we've talked about today, some of the stats I provided in the beginning for firms, are they really recognizing these things? Normalizing potential delays in law as systemic, not personal failure. Caring very deeply about what you do and your clients, but does that reach a point of feeling unsustainable? What your identity is tied to in your profession is what you do, but is it who you are? And then there's this connection to each other. It's kind of professional containment, peer-to-peer normalization, maybe in the field, outside of the field. I mentioned mentors, mentorship, beyond even legal strategy. How many of you have a mentor, somebody that you can call when times are tough, or someone that has navigated certain aspects professionally that you have come to know and just need a little bit of help? It's amazing when you reach out to somebody to ask for help genuinely, and how many people will be so ready to help and give back in whatever capacity they can. Are there other programs or services to talk to, maybe in firms, that you have access to as part of your benefits? And for each other and being connected to others, to be supported in a way that holds you accountable and keeps your standards high and inspires you to press on when times are hard. And so I feel, standards transfer to who and what you're connecting with. Just like you can be influenced and you can influence others. And some, I think, some folks connect through shared frustration, war stories, maybe complaint-based bonding. And I think this type of connection, even though we need to vent, sometimes lowers standards. And if people around normalize stress or normalize complaint or normalize burnout, I feel like eventually we do too. You do too. But connection that sustains and reinforces, raises standards and boundaries, are those high quality connections. They normalize uncertainty without normalizing burnout, and raise expectations instead of reinforcing exhaustion, even when it's there. And it provides accountability, not just necessarily empathy, which is absolutely critical, along with the accountability aspect. And then this last one is more of this feeling aspect, the connection to purpose. And I think this is critical too. I don't believe you probably need more passion. You don't need more examples. You maybe don't need to be told or shown, how difficult something is, or you don't need more status. But maybe a reminder to your purpose, to your why. To feel connected to that why you do this work. Not just what's being charged for the work or the billable hours or these other things, who you really are in doing this work, not just what you do. So another part of this engagement, I'd love for you to share, maybe why you do this work. What is it? What is the reason? Why do you do this work? Why do you believe in it? And you can put that in the chat as well. I believe when we all serve, you serve best when you endure, not when you exhaust. And in an article published in 2020, the strongest predictors of well-being were the psychological needs of autonomy, relatedness to others, and competency. And so on this relatedness aspect, I'm sure many of you have heard more about longevity as it relates to fitness and nutrition and health, so on and so forth. But as a human being, longevity is important to consider, even as a professional aspect. Longevity is, for you as a lawyer, is an ethical responsibility. Being sustainable, you're able to serve more clients over time. You build a legacy, however you may define that, or your long-term effectiveness. And having healthy boundaries and standards, that is a stewardship of longevity on your behalf. Who you allow yourself to be influenced by determines how long you last. It's also about who you influence along the way. So I'd like to do a quick exercise, and I'm glad this will be recorded and people can go back to this. I want to tuck this relatedness aspect that I mentioned before. I want you to do this exercise, and I want you to write down or type out 5 people you interact with the most professionally. And some of those right off the top will probably be pretty easy. Um, but I want you to write down the 5 people you interact with the most, if you can do that, please. And then we'll move on to step number 2. Okay, so once you have those people written down, step number 2 is the question. Do they raise your standards, lower your standards, or are they neutral? So for each person, you're going to use a plus sign, negative sign, or maybe a neutral sign, maybe arrows pointing both ways with a horizontal line. Who challenges my thinking? You put a plus mark for those who challenge it, minus mark who does not challenge it, or just a neutral. You can put that in there. It's up to you. So who challenges my thinking? And then the next one is who only validates my stress? Right? On the negative side, who only validates your stress? Okay. And then the last one, who holds me accountable to my best habits? Right? A plus sign for those who hold you accountable to your best. So again, who challenges my thinking? Who only validates my stress? And then who holds me accountable to my best habits? And we obviously won't discuss this. I want you to just take a look at it overall, and you can practice this anytime. And by no means would I say you need to cut people out if they're not doing this for you. But just to be intentional about who also shapes you. I heard this quote about that says, accept people for who they are, place people where they belong. Are you placing people who challenges your thinking in a good way, who hold you accountable to your best habits, that reinforce your standards, that help protect your boundaries? Those are the connections that we want to surround ourselves with. So we've gone over a lot today, and I definitely want to leave some time for Q&A, but I also want to leave you with something to carry on, okay? Addressing the cracks is hard. The cracks of enormous pressure and expectation and burnout and not getting a thank you back. Cracks of anxiety, depression, dysregulation. How do we get out of that state? The cracks of substance abuse, suicide. Showing up for yourself can be very challenging. And I want you to show up for yourself. And that's why I'm here. I want you to show up for yourself. And so I would just want to review these 3 C's here quickly, right? We have challenge, to train your body to do hard things and reap the benefit of commanding yourself through this discipline, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. Curiosity, regaining your optimal state through a return to agency and emotional command. And we did a practice, an exercise for that, right? That mental fitness repetition where we closed our eyes and we did this. And then connection, reinforcing your standards and carry the work collectively, not alone. Don't do this alone. And so how do the 3 C's work together? As I stated earlier on, challenge builds strength for the environment and for you. The curiosity builds clarity inside this chaos. And connection builds capacity and depth to sustain the work. I've been reminded time and time again of this sentence, right? This statement. And I feel like it's very relevant for today. And so I wanted to share it. I think a lot of us, a lot of people in general, live by this one day mentality. One day I want to be able to, or one day when things slow down, I want to blank. You fill in the blank. One day. But there's a very interesting thing that happens when we switch those words and we say day one. It sounds resolute. It sounds commanding. And I want you to think about this aspect of one day, of all of these things that we went over today. One day, if I implement these, or when I implement this, versus day one. Let's make this day one right here, right now. And so my challenge to you is to make this day one. And so I'm asking each of you to choose who you're going to be in this aspect of one challenge to meet differently. What's that one challenge that you're willing to embark on? And I want you to write it down. Or one habit to examine with curiosity. Or one connection to strengthen or change. I just want you to do one of those things, one challenge to meet differently, one habit to examine with curiosity, or one connection to strengthen or change. What's one thing you can do here on day one and not make this a one-day type of thing? Okay. So I want you to write this down. Let's capture the moment right here, right now. Let's write this down so we don't lose it. Okay. And if you want to put it in the chat, you're more than welcome to do that. Please go for it. You can keep it absolutely private and type it into your phone or on your computer, your laptop, or write it down on a piece of paper. I'm a big fan of writing things down, of documenting it, putting it in black and white, putting it on paper, putting it on screen so that you can see it, so it becomes real, and then we can take action on it. Okay? So one challenge to meet differently, one habit to examine with curiosity, one connection to strengthen or change. Okay. And with that, I'm going to bring it to a close and just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you, Rebecca. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to do this. Thank you, everybody who came today. And thank you to all of those who will be watching the recording and going through this and hopefully can pause and take some time to really dive into this and work through it as well, because I know it's a lot that we went through today. So thank you so much. And I'd be more than happy to open it up for Q&A as well right now too.
Daniel, we've got one that said, I love this quote. I have it on my fridge.
Hey, all right, very good. I love quotes. I'm a huge fan of quotes, and thank you for sharing that. I love it. A fellow quote lover.
Well, thank you, Daniel. That was insightful, instructive, and calming all at the same time. And thank you, everyone, for attending. Our next event will be Lawyers as Entrepreneurs from Idea to Practice. That will be on April 22nd from 12 to 1, and registration can be found on our website. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Daniel, so much.
Thank you so much. And if anybody needs anything, please feel free to reach out at any time. We'd love to help.